Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're hanging out with us today because, well, we're doing something a little bit different, something super focused. We're stepping into a mini masterclass on just one incredibly powerful vocabulary word. Pulling straight from the experts over at the Wordsmyth Advanced Dictionary, we're going to completely deconstruct, really understand, and then figure out how to actively use a word that can literally instantly elevate how you communicate. Because let's be real, having a sharp vocabulary, it's not just about sounding smart. It's about having the exact right tool to describe the crazy complex human experiences we all navigate every single day. The word we're unpacking today is probably one you've heard, maybe even used, but looking at its behavioral roots, that's going to give you a totally new lens for everyday human interaction. So grab a mental notepad and let's upgrade that conversational toolkit.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to really think about something for a second. Break down the fourth wall with me here. Have you ever had one of those mornings? You know the ones. You're running like 10 minutes late for a super important meeting, your coffee is literally threatening to spill all over your shirt, and your brain is just racing with the 50 things you gotta knock out before noon. And as you're sprinting through the office lobby, a coworker smiles and goes, "Hey, how was your weekend?" And instead of stopping, smiling back, doing the whole dance, you just give this tense little nod, maybe a rushed "fine, thanks" over your shoulder, and you just keep glazing right past them. You totally bypass the pleasantries. You skipped the social glue that usually makes the daily grind, actually bearable. I want you to keep that exact feeling, that precise moment of ditching the pleasantries because you're under immense pressure, right in the front of your mind. Because that specific social dynamic perfectly sets up the exact concept of the word we're exploring today.
And here it is. The word is amenity. Now, let's look at the actual mechanics of this word before we get into how to use it. It's a noun, and it breaks down into four distinct syllables. Amenity. Phonetically, it's pronounced amenity. Now, I know you're just watching this, but hey, active learning needs active participation. So wherever you are right now, I actually want you to say it out loud. Seriously, say it with me. Amenity. Awesome. Getting the physical feel of the word in your mouth actually helps lock it into your active memory. Now for the definition itself. In its plural form, amenities refers directly to those social courtesies, agreeable manners, and pleasantries we were just talking about. It's essentially the verbal and behavioral lubricant that makes human society run smoothly. Saying please, holding a door open, making that little bit of small talk about the weather, these are all absolutely amenities.
Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. You're looking at this and going, wait a minute. Aren't amenities like those tiny bottles of shampoo you get at a hotel or the pool at a nice resort? And you're absolutely right. There is a secondary, super common meaning for amenity, which is something that makes a place or an occasion more convenient, pleasing, or gracious. Like a shiny new fitness center in an apartment building. That's an amenity. It makes living there a lot nicer. So the crucial point is, the underlying DNA of the word is exactly the same. Whether we're talking about a physical feature of a building or a behavioral feature of a conversation, an amenity exists for one simple reason: to make an experience more agreeable. But for our masterclass today, we're pivoting right back. We're keeping our focus squarely on that first, behavioral definition, the social courtesies. Because honestly, that's the definition that's really going to upgrade how you articulate human dynamics. Let's anchor this definition in a really vivid, real-world context. Look at this quote, right from our source. The matter was urgent and there was no time for amenities. I want you to really picture the scenario here. Imagine a crazy, bustling emergency room. Or, better yet, a high-stakes corporate boardroom where some massive PR crisis has literally just broken out. The doors burst open, the lead surgeon, or the CEO, storms in. They aren't shaking hands, they're definitely not asking how everybody's weekend was, and they aren't offering anyone a cup of coffee. The tension is through the roof, the stakes are sky high, and the clock is ticking. In that little micro story, the complete absence of pleasantries tells you exactly how serious the situation really is. And that is what makes this word so powerful. By saying there was no time for amenities, you aren't just saying people were being rude. You're painting this intense picture of urgency, where the normal rules of polite society just have to be paused for the sake of survival or immediate action. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can understand a word not just by what it is, but by its exact opposite. We're looking at a direct sensory contrast here. Think about the feeling of our focal word, amenities. It's soft, it's warm, it represents courtesies, pleasantries. It's that gentle easing of social interactions. It's kind of like the conversational equivalent of sinking into a really comfortable armchair. Now think about the antonym provided by our Wordsmyth source, rigor. Feel how that word just sounds harder, almost like a heavy anvil dropping. Rigor represents strictness, harshness. It's an unbending adherence to the rules without any of that softening or pleasantry. A military boot camp, that operates on rigor. A Sunday afternoon tea party, that operates on amenity. If a situation is completely defined by rigor, you would absolutely not describe it using the word amenity. And understanding this strict opposition, it completely locks the true meaning of amenity right into your brain. And this brilliantly illustrates how our word doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It lives in what we can call a word neighborhood. So let's map out this mental web really quick so you have this whole cluster of vocabulary right at your fingertips. If you're trying to describe polite behavior, synonyms like courtesies, manners, mores, and pleasantries are all going to serve you super well. Then we have similar words, etiquette and protocol. Now, these are actually fascinating. See, etiquette and protocol are the rules of how to behave, whereas amenities are the actual actions of behaving pleasantly. Make sense? You follow the protocol by offering the amenities. And finally, we have the related concept of civility. Civility is essentially the baseline of respect we owe each other in society. Amenities, well, those are the beautiful little decorations we put on top of that baseline to make life genuinely enjoyable. Navigating through all these subtle differences really helps you categorize the word perfectly in your mind.
Let's move to and see how this builds from passive recognition into active, confident usage. It's time for the amenity challenge. You've learned the definition, the pronunciation, the context, and the antonym, but now you got to do the work to actually make it yours. So, first, I want you to think of a real thing in your everyday life that fits the behavioral meaning of amenity. Maybe it's the exact way your local barista greets you every morning, or maybe a specific polite habit your grandfather always had. Got it? Second, write exactly one sentence about it. Just one. And finally, the bonus step. This is to prove you've really mastered the masterclass. I want you to weave in one synonym and one antonym into that sentence. For example, you could say, despite the rigor of the intense negotiations, the diplomats never forgot their basic courtesies and always made time for the necessary amenities. Boom. Just like that, you've actively recalled and applied the knowledge.
So let's bring this whole thing home with a really quick recap. Our focal point today has been the word amenity. The core meaning you absolutely need to retain: plural social courtesies, agreeable manners, and pleasantries. The one key synonym to keep right in your back pocket is courtesies, and the one super powerful antonym to define its complete opposite: rigor. You now possess a highly specific, incredibly sharp linguistic tool to describe the subtle social dynamics that are happening all around you every single day. Because at the end of the day, language is really only as powerful as your willingness to actually wield it. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you find yourself rushing past someone in the hallway, or you're navigating a super tense, rigorous situation, just stop for a second and ask yourself what actually happens to us when we lose our amenities. And more importantly, how are you going to confidently use the word amenity in your conversations this week to articulate that exact experience? Take this word out into the real world, play around with it, and just watch how it clarifies your communication. Catch you next time.